Slowly but surely, I started preparing myself for failure, which is honestly a terrible thing to do. Sometimes you just get so consumed by negativity and then this false perception of hopelessness that you just like, you know what? Okay, maybe there is no hope for me, and you actually start believing this.
By the authority in the name of Jesus Christ, receive your freedom, receive your healing, receive your breakthrough, receive restoration, receive it, receive it, receive it, receive it, receive it today.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Claire and I'm from South Africa. So my problem started a little into 2023 when I was in grade 11. I had this like inexplicable academic decline, and it just didn't make sense to me. No matter how much hard work I put in, the hours I would spend on my work, when I'd get into tests or exams, nothing would add up because I'd get blackouts, or I'd get so panic stricken and I'd get anxiety. I'd get these hand tremors and I wouldn't be able to write. And I mean, you walk in with so much confidence and then you just stuck and you don't even know how to even start on the first question. Because in South Africa, grade 11 is a very crucial year because at the end of the year, you use those results to apply for universities. So that was very demotivating for me because I knew this year was like my make or break. I had a goal in mind, and for the longest time, I've always wanted to pursue medicine after high school. So now, with that at the back of my mind and the results I was producing, I was like, no, there is no way, certainly no way that I could get to my goal or to my dream at that rate, because as you know, it's a very competitive field, extremely competitive. So I was like, you know what? There's no hope for me. So slowly but surely, I started preparing myself for failure, which is honestly a terrible thing to do. But yeah, sometimes you just get so consumed by negativity and then this false perception of hopelessness that you just like, you know what? Okay, maybe there is no hope for me, and you actually start believing this.
What was it like, having this fear of failure? What was it like having to deal with the anxiety? How were your grades? Did you still prepare before you go to examinations or your tests? How was that experience, if you can share that to the glory of God?
It was honestly awful. It was so awful. Yes, I did still prepare, but I was so overconsumed by negativity, anxiety, and as I said, this false perception of hopelessness. I am not even my own creator, but I was like, no, I see that there is no hope for me in the future. And no matter how much work I put in, no matter how many different study methods I'd use, and the funny thing is, I'd study at home and everything would be going so well. I'd walk in so confidently. But as soon as I just walked into that exam room, everything just changed. As I said, the anxiety, the depression. Um, Sometimes I'd even get like all these negative thoughts flooding my mind before I even get the paper in front of me. Like just simply stepping into the exam room, and then I'm getting tremors and literally cannot write. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for my hands to stop tremoring so I can actually like process what's in front of me and actually start, answering questions. It was terrible, honestly. And then just so happened in 2024 now, the same problem persisted, and I was in grade 12 now. And it just so happened that one Sunday after church, my mom was talking to one of her friends, and she was like, "Oh, why don't you join God's Heart TV services one of the Saturdays, and just join one of those," because she had been joining them. And then my mom and I, together with the rest of our family, we joined for the very first time in May of 2024. Yeah. So to be honest, I walked in there and I joined that live service and I was like, today is my testimony, right? I will receive, you know? And then I see, oh no, everyone, it's appeared now that everyone is manifesting and everything, and I'm like, I feel nothing. Is there something wrong with me? What's going on? But regardless, I kept on joining each month with my mom and my family because I absolutely loved listening to the word every week, every month, sorry, because I would always feel that there was something very practical that spoke to me. So because of that, and obviously how spiritually connected I felt during the prayer sessions, I kept on joining. And I was like, you know what? If whether I'm having an actual physical manifestation or not, I believe, and I feel like this is helping me a lot. It's bringing me at ease, so I will keep on joining. I enjoy joining, so I carried on joining. It was spiritually fulfilling, whether or not I had a physical testimony or not. And so I carried on. And slowly but surely, I was like, whoa, because I used to break out in hives at random all over my skin. And then I realized, wait, I haven't complained to my mother that I broke out in hives in a week. What? And then I went to tell my mother this, and she's like, yeah. And then slowly but surely, the tremors that I'd get as I'm writing, or like those negative thoughts that just flood my mind and I'd feel like I can't control them, all of that also just started like falling away, if that makes sense. Yeah, it just all just started falling away bit by bit. And then I'd be like, wait, I don't experience this anymore. And I started feeling much lighter. And then just the end of May, end of April, end of May, that's the time that you usually apply for universities now. So I was like, wow, I was feeling lighter, yes, but I still didn't have the hope that I could pursue what I wanted to pursue. I didn't think I had what it takes because still my grades weren't on par yet. I was still, finding my way. So I started looking at alternatives. So literally anything, not that I necessarily had an interest in, but anything that I thought I could get by with, I just applied for in university. And I literally applied to almost every single institution in this country because I was like, I'm not going to get a spot. I'm literally going to take whatever I get. There are various options, but I honestly didn't want to be sitting at home after my matric year. I really did want to progress with my studies further. At the back of my mind, I still had my dream of, medicine has been my lifelong dream, but I didn't want to apply for it. I was like, no, that makes no sense. My report is terrible. Why would I do that? But my mom, luckily, she encouraged me and she's like, you know what, Claire, just give it a shot because whether or not it's meant for you, that's for God to decide. And I did. As I said, I applied everywhere. And then, yeah, it skipped to August, September, October, November, December. That was when we had like our two major periods of exams. So as I said, then I started feeling more lighter, more confident. I didn't experience any of these anxiety or exam hysteria during my exam. It was completely gone. These negative thoughts, I wouldn't get anything. I would walk in confident and I would walk out and be like, you know what, God, you were with me. I believe you're with me. When I was studying, I know you were with me in this exam room. And I will walk out and prepare for my next exam and just leave it at that. I didn't know what to expect, but I was just like, I'm just going to have faith. I did my part, let God do the rest. The exams came out mid-Jan this year. And I remember it was the night before exam, the exam results were actually supposed to come out. And what happens in South Africa is if you get distinctions, it gets published in the newspaper at midnight. And you can go to your nearest garage and find those results. And then obviously the following day, midday, that's when you actually get your full statement with the actual marks and stuff. So I remember going to bed that night because I was so stressed and worried because I didn't know what to expect. And as I said, for the longest time, I had been preparing myself for failure. And though I started deterring from that part, I still had that bit of doubt at the back of my head. So I was like, let me just go to bed so I can completely forget about it. And it just so happened that one of my friends had bought the newspaper and she sent a picture of it on our group chat. So I'm like, oh no, should I look? Should I not? I don't want to ruin my night, right? So I was like, okay, let me just look. So I looked for my exam number, and initially, I think because I was very nervous, I looked at the wrong exam number, and then I was like, oh no, because I only saw 2 distinctions. I did 8 subjects, and yet again, I didn't know what to expect, but I was like, certainly, I'm not going to get to my dream now, you know? And then my siblings heard me and they're like, no, she must have gotten the results, right? So they came rushing into my room and they grabbed my phone and they started cross-checking, cross-referencing to see my exam number on that newspaper. And then they started calling out all the subjects that they saw in the newspaper. They called out each subject and then I'm counting and I'm like, no, you called out 8 subjects. There's no way. Please check that number again. I was like, check that number again. There is no way. I got distinctions for all my subjects. No. And then my siblings were like, no, this is it. And I felt like my world like stopped right there. Because I don't know how to explain it. I was so overwhelmed. I felt like I was dreaming. I was like, oh, me? What? No way. No, I didn't believe it. So, as I said earlier, I was honestly ready to settle for anything I got. So hence I had applied to literally every single institution in this country. And then, so a little later down that week, of results publications was when you'd get your responses from universities. And all these universities that I was looking to for medicine were really quiet. So I was like, ooh, what's this supposed to mean? And then I eventually got my first response 3 days later from one of the institutions. And then just one by one, I kept on getting acceptance letters for medicine for almost literally every institution I had applied to. So I was like, hold on, not only do I get to study what I had been intending to, what I aspired to, but I get to choose which institution I want to go to. And honestly, it was mind-blowing. And on top of that, okay, so I got to university and whatever, but still an issue that also had been pending from 2024 was finances. I mean, 6 years, a course like this, it's quite costly, especially since I'm living 6 hours away from home. Accommodation, tuition fees, and everything else that goes in between is quite costly. And my family is quite a big family. And although my parents are like, you know what, we're working hard for you, you don't have to worry about finances. At the back of my mind, I always think, you know what, I'm one of 4 siblings. My parents are supporting 2 families. Isn't it selfish of me to be like, yo, I went to study this for 6 years? I was like, how? How is that going to happen? And then literally, oh my gosh, literally 2 weeks after I'd come to university, I'd moved in and everything, it just so happened that 2 people from my church approached my parents and they were like, no, we put your daughter's name forward for a bursary. Just make sure that she sends through all her details and they will consider whether they think she's eligible for this bursary. And I sent my details through and I was like, oh my God, please make this happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't, you know? And literally less than a week later, I get an acceptance letter from this institution saying that they would cover my studies completely for the entire year, accommodation, everything included. And that was another blessing, huge blessing. Honestly, I just want to say, whether it takes a day, a week, a year, or years, God will always take you exactly to where He wants you to be. No matter how unsure you are about a dream or a vision He has planted, it will come to fruition or fruition eventually. You just need to have faith in that. And I feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because my second name is Nukutenda, and that means with faith. So honestly, just walk by faith, not by sight, and give it all to God. Don't lose hope. It's cliche, yes, but honestly, don't lose hope.